Paltrocast. The first question I have for you, besides how are you, is what do I call you? Eric, Kid, Koala? What do you like?
Eric's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Eric San, right?
San, yeah.
Oh, you know what? I thought for decades now, people have been wrongly calling you San, and it's Eric San.
Sure, whatever. I'll let you know.
Well, either way, Creatures of the Late Afternoon, latest record. And obviously it stands out from the pack in having the board game and the bonus tracks just for the board game part of it. When in the whole process of making it, did the board game concept come to you?
I would say about a third of the way into recording it, I was starting to think about packaging the album, and I was playing a lot of board games with my daughters at the time. It was in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, I mean, it all just sort of congealed probably, just a few months into the process, really. I was painting a lot. That was the other thing, that I was spending some time off tour and just painting all these creatures, like playing musical instruments and stuff, and learning about all these creatures from watching nature shows with my kids. And so the studio was literally all these canvases of all the creature cards that actually ended up being in the game. Yeah, that they were basically just populating the workspace here, the workshop and the studio. And so when I was in the recording part of it, it actually ended up being a bit of a catalyst for what types of sounds it would make, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to your artistry, I like that you always push the envelope where you make stuff that sounds accessible, yet you're using a lot of obscure samples and a lot of obscure concepts. But again, making something that anybody could really like. When it comes to board games, do you have obscure taste, or are you into Monopoly?
Do I have obscure taste in board games? I don't know how obscure the games. I mean, I started playing games like Sorry and stuff when I was kidding. That would be probably my earliest memory of board games. No, I would say is in general pretty mainstream. Board games is what I had access to growing up in the 70s, So Monopoly, I remember Monopoly just taking a little too long for my, childhood attention span. But I don't know. I like games like Risk. I tried playing Risk with the kids, and they didn't like that. They thought it was too competitive. But I remember enjoying that as a kid.
Yeah, I find that the way that music diehards look down at other people, wherein you go, hey, what concert are you coming to next? And they go, Kenny Chesney, and you go, oh, okay. With board games, I find that there's this weird elitism that you go, what's your favorite board game? You go, Settlers of Catan, and the people go, oh, basically.
Oh, right.
And so there's this subculture of people who are intense about board games, who are going to the game store every week or every other week, kind of like how people used to go to the record store.
Yeah, or the comic book shop, right? Yeah. Just to check out what the new releases are, and it's just sort of being a part of that scene. Yeah, I was definitely on the vinyl side of that, record side. Yeah.
Is the new record carried in any game stores? Because it should be.
I believe so. I believe there is distribution. It's through a music distributor, but it can be ordered to any shop, I think. So some people have told me they've seen it in some stores that actually like deal in both.
Got it. Well, the new record has 20 tracks, depending on which version that you're listening to. When you're making an album, are there a lot of leftovers, or do you only finish the stuff that you really feel?
There are B-sides and bonus tracks. Some of those might end up on little EPs or maybe a future project. But I think with regards to the 20 tracks on Creatures, at one point also during the recording process, it became clear to me that this could be the soundtrack for a future stage production. In the style of the Storyville Mosquito or Newphonia Must Fall, which are in these sort of larger live cinema, puppetry, live score, live perform productions that we're doing. And So once that clicked into place, then I started realizing all these tracks that I'm working on, some of them, oh, this would be the perfect music cue for the motorcycle chase scene, you know, or this could be the perfect track for the date montage, or etc. And so that's actually what started helping with just the sequencing of the album. You know, I needed a big final showdown battle track for the third act, because I was speaking with my team who I do these productions, these live productions with, and we thought it'd be fun for it to be an action movie this time. So basically, once that idea, you know, revealed itself, I said, okay, that's it. This is the perfect way. So for the opener, we just need this crazy banger. We need the lighters, like the letters of the title like appearing on, you know. And I was thinking about all that stuff, including, you know, all the way to the end, even like Rise of the Tardigrades, which is the big showdown track. And so once that idea was there, it was clear. It was like, oh, I needed these music cues for these certain scenes. And I actually have like storyboards from that forthcoming show already kind of mapped out for it. You don't have to listen to the album that way, but it was just something that helped become a muse of sorts for me. And so it just like, okay, well, this is when the protagonist and you know, there's a love story. Obviously, most of my stories have some subtext of that, but then there's this idea of all these creatures, you know, banding together to sort of fight a common foe. And so yeah, that's basically what ended up deciding what would be the final 20 tracks on Creatures.
Yeah. This career that you have is very fascinating, because not only is the art great, and yes, I'm complimenting you outright, there's not going to be a but. Your art is great, but no, nothing like that. It's fascinating because there's not only the great art, but sometimes it's an album, sometimes it's a remix, sometimes it's you scoring, sometimes it's you producing for another artist or guesting on a track. So you're one of those people that we don't know where you're going to pop up, when you're going to pop up, etc.
Yeah.
And was that kind of the goal at the beginning, that you wanted to have that multifaceted career that you could score, or did scoring happen accidentally?
I think I always had an interest in scoring. You know, I came up through the scratch turntable scene and in the hip hop scene, and through projects like that, or playing in clubs. So I wasn't being offered a lot of score work in the early part of my career, I guess. And it wasn't until I'd started writing these graphic novels. It was Emma Mackay, who was at one of the publishers who published New Phoneme Must Fall. She said, hey, there's this plot line about this robot trying to write this love song. Like, what does that sound like? You know, and this is coming from the book publisher. And I was like, oh, why do you want to know? She said, well, I thought, you know, if you wanted to, we could package the graphic novel with said music. And then so I thought, oh wow, okay, that was actually the first opportunity I had to score something. Even though it was scoring a graphic novel, I just picked certain scenes that I thought, you know, oh, this could be a nice theme for that, or this is what the robot love song sounds like, etc. And so I had so much fun doing that. I did it again on the Space Cadet graphic novel a few years later. And then I think at that point, people, at least film directors and animation animators, started reaching out and asking to see if I would be interested in doing more score work. And that led to, you know, video game scores and film scores and other stuff. So what was it like I don't know if it wasn't really like a strategic, oh, I'd love to like score some stuff. I think I just love trying new things, like seeing where I can take the turntable, seeing where I can take storytelling and music. And so I think over the years, it's just certain experiments that I would try, even if it's independent, you know, would eventually like open a door to something else. Like someone, it gets on somebody's radar. It's like, hey, I really like this this graphic novel you did with the music, but especially the music. Would you ever think of using that type of music in a dance piece? You know, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, okay. Let's see where this can go, and just have fun, like learning and collaborating that way.
Well, in terms of the long-term goals, I was watching this recent interview with Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, and they
Okay.
were asking him about his early career, and he said all along the plan was to be a film director, that he was just
Oh
doing
wow.
Limp Bizkit allegedly as a performance art thing a la Andy Kaufman to
Wow.
propel himself to be able to be a film director. So these days, you never know if you're like, oh yeah, Eric, all along he wanted to score, and this was just a ploy to get there.
Oh, no, but I would say, if I were to look all the way back to my earliest idea, and I've said this in other interviews, like one of the things that really just sort of enlightened me to the rules, not the rules, but the mechanics of even production were Charlie Chaplin films.
Hmm.
So at the time, I was just a kid. I was playing classical piano, and music was very kind of siloed into this one thing that I had to practice that I actually
Right.
didn't really enjoy at the time. But I remember seeing, probably when I was 6 or 7 years old, my parents showing me, my mom showing me some Charlie Chaplin films. And then I realized at that point, I think prior to that, I thought any actual live action humans on the screen were like just on the newscast, what my parents would watch. So like, oh, those are just people answering questions. But when I was watching those Charlie Chaplin films, I said, okay, wait a minute. There's like, they're doing tricks. They're doing camera tricks. So like he's looking like he's walking up the wall, or he's doing,
Right.
like he's roller skating. He's almost about to fall off this. How did they do that? Oh, they matte painted it to look like there was an actual like second floor with a big hole there. And just the idea of it, the magic of the production behind it. I remember seeing Modern Times and saying, how is it looking like he's being pulled through this factory machine with all the cogs? Like, did they build that? And then when I realized, it's like, oh, they built that to tell this story. How, what an incredible thing. That I didn't know. I just, and even my young mind was kind of like, I don't know how they did it or what they did it or what it takes, but I knew the energy that was happening, which was like all my family all laughing together, crying together, and
Yeah.
watching.
Chaplin United. That's
Yeah,
for
I basically said I want, as when I grow up, I want to do something to like create this feeling. I don't, whatever it was, whether it's through making, a mixtape or doing a live show or
Mhm.
theater piece or film thing or video game, whatever. It's just trying to create that. Hopefully that joyful experience somehow.
So you and Fred Durst are just the same. Got it. That's what I.
And in terms of no film direction, I'm actually oddly, I am directing my first feature animation as right now. That's like actually my main
Wow.
job for the next 2 years. And again, yeah, I mean, it's just a new learning experience. I'm taking everything I've kind of learned through all the live productions and through even doing concerts like endlessly for
Yeah.
20 years and stuff, and just trying to apply that to animated film now. And it's been fun. It's a big team. It's definitely the biggest production I've been a part of so far. So, but it's having a good time.
Well,
Yeah.
I've two questions because you just mentioned touring, and one's a stupid question,
Mm.
admittedly, and one is the plug yourself. And I'm also interested to know this. Which
Okay,
one first, the stupid question or the plug yourself good
let's
question?
do the stupid question first. Let's keep it stupid first. Yeah.
Okay. When you see a DJ on stage, my
Yeah.
opinion is, despite what the movie Fear of a Black Hat shows about the DJ in that group, the DJ I find is the most entrepreneurial person in any collective and has so much going on, and they're excellent multitaskers. So the stupid question, have you ever been able to check your email and or send an email during a show while you're on stage performing?
I have not, mainly because I'm still analog. So I don't even have any kind of computer. I guess I could check my phone. I wouldn't dare do that though, whilst performing.
Th-
Um,
This well, where that comes from.
but I know what you're saying. I have seen some where I feel like, oh, I feel like they're writing quite an email up there. It's like, I don't know why you would need that many keystrokes to select your next song using your
Well,
laptop.
there's that.
But again, I don't really know about that. I'm not anti-digital DJing. I just never adopted it, I guess. I actually got this is how nerdy I am, okay? I actually got a record cutter in my studio. So when people were making their custom sound tools, using the digital format, I was actually trying to learn how to calibrate the needle to
Wow.
avoid vertical distortion, as it's cutting into a blank vinyl. And so to me, I just went full on like lathe style and just went into the physics of all that, which I still enjoy. I mean, it's still really
You can
totally
call that
magic to me. That
nerdy if you want, but I call that you just created assets so that you could have a traveling museum exhibit for the rest of your life. Is
that right? Well, it's one of those things. It ends up, if you're a scratch DJ, it becomes your palette. You know what I mean? So whatever's on the vinyl is your kind of starting point, but then multiply that by everything you do, by cutting it up or having two copies or phasing stuff, changing stuff. And so the idea of having my own record cutter to even, let's just like record this tap water running into this bowl that's creating a tone. Let's do that. Cut that to vinyl for a minute and see what happens,
Wow.
Get two copies of that, flip one on 45. You got like, and you already have your interval, your fourths, and what kind of other melodies can you band out of that if you had that in front of you on vinyl? Like, to me, when I'm DJing, usually that's sort of just what I'm trying to do, just experiment up there and see what kind of new things I can make happen with the turntables. Yeah.
You're doing the work. Well, the less stupid question is this upcoming tour that you have playing, obviously you're supporting the new record, but what should we expect set list wise? Is it different?
Which tour are you talking about?
The upcoming tour that you have where you come through Les Poissons Rouge with Kehlani?
Oh, Leilani.
Oh, Leilani. Oh,
right. Okay, yeah. So Leilani, I mean, that's sort of this fun new, it's not, I guess, not a project. She's an artist in her own right and recording. She's got her own albums and stuff. And I think I had invited her to shout on one of the tracks for Creatures, which is that track Things Are Gonna Change.
Mm-hmm.
And so I invited her on tour just to say, hey, let's try this track live. But then while we were on tour, I realized like she's this crazy polymath where she could take tracks like even from Creatures or some of my old tracks and like break out every component, like, oh, here's every bass note of this 5-note bass line, plus here's the kicks. She can break it out and map it onto her MPC, and she's like, it looks like she's throwing gang signs or something like whatever, but she's like quickly doing, and she's actually assembling the tracks like live. It's insane what she's able to do, and it was fun to say, oh, hey, hey, can we, because normally I might have like the backing track or the beat on a third turntable, and then I can scratch a couple like vocal tops or mid-range things over the top, like the guitar parts or etc. But now with this combination, she's literally able to be like the whole orchestra and do it live, and we can like rewrite on the spot and improvise off each other. So it really opened up some of the possibilities in terms of how to perform this type of stuff live, but still have all the dust and crackle of all the original components. So the show itself it's kind of half DJ. I'll get up there and like rock the turntables, and then I'll invite her up. We'll do a couple songs together. We have some new things that we're working on that we're testing out too. And then she does her a few of her songs that I get to play on, and whether it's like just backing her up on drum pads or on tables or something like that. And it's fun. So it's definitely like a high energy like party set for the Leilani Kid Koala X Leilani tours. But yeah, we'll be doing some stuff from the new album, but also some of her original stuff from her album Fantastic Planet. And I wanted, when you see her, you'll see it was one of those things where I was like, wow, more people just need to see what she can do, because she's incredible. And I don't know, in the tradition of like the White Stripes or the Black Keys, or the idea of like a duo, like making all
Yeah.
this like noise coming out of the speakers and have a good time doing it. Like that's sort of our version of it, only it's like MPC versus turntable, Yeah.
Sounds like a must-see show live. Well, hey, thank you a ton for your time. Thank you for the many years of great art, and really looking forward to whatever's to come, whether it's that film you're directing, another record, etc. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you so much.
Paltrocast.